All right, so where we last left off. All right, so where I last left. So where I last left off was looking at collinearity and how there was no collinearity between the independent variables of my regression. So going on to the summary or conclusion. All right, so some of the main ideas found within the data analysis. Together, the three independent variables, low income, parental involvement, and limited English proficiency, those three contribute quite substantially, 37.1% to predicting graduation rates, or the variation in the variance in the graduation rates. Secondly, the percentage of the students who are limited English proficient has double the negative predictive power compared to students who are from low income families. So both contribute, but just how much limited English proficiency contributes was very notable to me. Lastly, looking more at a positive mediating factor, parental involvement is a positive predictor of graduation rates and has almost the same, albeit lower predictive power compared to the percentage of low-income students at a school. So implications or practical significance. First, just taking a step back, I think it's important that from looking at this data, just having the perspective that many factors outside of the school building have a significant influence on academic performance, and this could influence school level decisions. So for instance, increasing parent partnerships, especially with limited English proficiency students and families, since we know that one is a negative predictor and one is a positive predictor. Second, if we know that low income and limited English proficiency are negative predictors of graduation rates, ensuring that we have that schools have equitable instruction, curriculum, and grading systems. That's the responsibility of the administration as well as teachers. Lastly, looking or extending to the broader state and federal policy level. All right. Although a big change, policies that reduce income inequality for families, and that results in which should result in better academic achievement, since we know it is that predictor. Going along with that, distribute additional resources to support schools that have higher percentage of limited English proficiency or higher levels of low-income students. Using evidence-based funding based on the most recent and up-to-date rigorous evidence, and actually making sure to fund that evidence-based funding. So going on to limitations and future research. Limitations, one is that the data was not collected for the direct purposes of the study. All right. Also, and that has to be taken into account. Also, poverty measurements are binary and arbitrary. So what about the students just above the poverty threshold? How are they faring? How are they doing? And based on where we decide to draw that line, right, with yes or no, you could have very, very different results as a result. Third, poverty can be easily measured by income, but it's also argued, and gets a little bit more messy, where it's argued as decreased access to generate social capital. That was somewhat explored by looking at limited English proficiency as somewhat of a proxy, but there needs to be other lenses, other measurements, right, to look at quantitative research through the lens of social capital theory. Fourth, parental involvement percentage measurement was based on parents with students with disabilities. So we could use it as a proxy for how the school is working with parents with students with limited English proficiency, or all parents in general, but we don't know. And it's possible, since it's the Illinois report card data, that maybe schools are just focusing on that one metric and not really looking at parental involvement at other levels, right? Because what gets measured is what gets done. Lastly, not all assumptions of the linear regression were met. So for future research or maybe future data analysis, better fit assumptions of the regression model. All right, going back to the data, seeing what outliers we might need to take out to better fit linearity, normality, homoscedasticity. But then maybe for future research, looking at other variables that might be more normally distributed. Second, all right, looking at those scatter plots. What are those schools that have high low-income students, a percentage of high low-income students and high percentage of limited English proficiency students, but still have high graduation rates? Right, going in and maybe doing some mixed method studies of what are those schools doing well? Lastly, the study was study the effect of parental involvement for students with limited English proficiency on academic achievement. So instead of using this measurement as a proxy, specifically look at how we can work with parents and families with students that are limited English proficient. Thanks for watching.